The morning sky over Boston was crystal clear when the first alien ships appeared. Admiral James Wilson stood in his backyard, coffee cup frozen halfway to his lips, as he watched the massive vessels emerge from the clouds. They were beautiful in a terrible way, smooth silver shapes that seemed to defy gravity. His phone rang. As Earth's Defense Force commander, he knew this call would change everything. "Sir, we're detecting similar ships over every major city worldwide," his assistant reported, voice shaking. "They're not responding to any attempts at communication." Wilson's military training kicked in. "Get me to command now," he ordered, already moving toward his car. He knew these ships. They belonged to the Galactic Council, the most powerful alliance of alien species in the known universe. The Council had visited Earth before, always watching, always judging. They had called humans too aggressive, too unpredictable, and too primitive to join their ranks. But watching and judging wasn't enough anymore. They had decided to act. As Wilson's car sped toward the underground command center, the first attack began. The alien ships released beams of intense purple energy that cut through buildings like hot knives through butter. Boston's famous skyline, centuries of human achievement, melted away in seconds. In the command center, chaos reigned. Screens showed similar scenes playing out across the globe. New York, London, Beijing, Moscow. Every major city was under attack. The Council had launched what they called a preventive strike against Earth, expecting quick surrender from the primitive humans. "Get me a casualty count," Wilson demanded, his face hard as stone, as he watched his hometown burn. "Initial estimates suggest millions, sir," an officer reported, his voice cracking. "They're targeting population centers and military installations simultaneously." Wilson's fists clenched. The Council had made a terrible mistake. They thought their superior technology made them invincible. They expected humans to break, to bow down before their power. They didn't understand what happened when humans were backed into a corner. "Get me the president," Wilson ordered, "and contact Project Phoenix. It's time." On the main screen, a Council representative appeared, his alien features arranged in what passed for a smile. "People of Earth," the alien announced in perfect English, "your species has been deemed too dangerous to join galactic civilization. This is not war. This is containment. Surrender now, and we will ensure your species survives under proper supervision." Wilson watched the message, his blue eyes cold as ice. The aliens thought they knew everything about humans. They had studied Earth's wars, Earth's violence, Earth's divisions, but they had missed something crucial. Humans were never more united than when facing a common enemy. In underground bunkers across the planet, secret projects that had been decades in the making were to life. The Council thought they knew all of Earth's military capabilities. They were wrong. "Sir," his assistant called out, "Project Phoenix reports they're ready. Commander Martinez says the prototype ships can launch within the hour." Wilson nodded, thinking of the millions already dead, of his city in flames, of humanity on the brink. The Council thought they were delivering justice. Instead, they had just started a war they weren't prepared to fight. "Send word to all remaining military installations," he ordered. "Implementation of Protocol Omega begins now." He paused, looking at the burning world on his screens. "And send a message to the Council." "What message, sir?" Wilson's voice was quiet but filled with steel. "Tell them they just made the biggest mistake in their 10,000-year history. Tell them Earth doesn't surrender." Around the globe, hidden facilities began to open. Weapons the Council never imagined possible were brought into the light. Humanity had been preparing for this day, not because they wanted war, but because they had always known it might come. The Council celebrated their successful first strike, confident in their victory. They didn't realize that humanity's fiercest retaliation was yet to come. They had started this war with Earth, but humans would finish it. In the command center, Admiral Wilson watched the Council ships continuing their attack, and made a silent promise to every human who had died that day. The Council would learn what humans did best: survive, adapt, and overcome, no matter the cost. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Commander Ana Martinez walked through the gleaming halls of Project Phoenix. While the world above burned, this underground facility hummed with activity. The Council thought they knew everything about Earth's military capabilities. They were wrong. Status report, Martinez ordered as she entered the main control room. Screens covered every wall, showing the ongoing attacks across the globe. But unlike the chaos in regular military bases, the staff here worked with calm precision. "All systems are ready, Commander," her chief engineer reported. "The reverse-engineered shields are functioning at full capacity, and the hybrid weapons are armed." Martinez nodded, remembering how it all started. 20 years ago, a small alien scout ship had crashed in the Arizona desert. The Council had tried to recover it, but humans got there first. That single ship had changed everything. "Show me the fleet," she ordered. The main screen switched to an enormous underground hangar. 50 sleek ships stood ready, each one a perfect blend of human ingenuity and alien technology. They looked like normal spacecraft from the outside, but inside they held humanity's greatest secret: the ability to combine primitive human weapons with advanced alien tech. Martinez touched the screen, tracing the outline of the nearest ship. "The Council thinks we're savages who only know how to fight with simple weapons," she said. "They never imagined we could take their technology and make it better." Her radio crackled. "Commander, Admiral Wilson is on the secure line." Martinez picked up the phone. "Project Phoenix is ready, sir. We can launch as soon as you give the word." "Good." Wilson's voice was grim. "The Council just finished their victory speech. They think we're beaten. Time to show them how wrong they are." Martinez turned to her crew. "Begin launch sequence. Wake up our sleeping giants." The hangar came alive. Engineers and pilots rushed to their stations. These ships were humanity's greatest achievement, vessels that could match the Council's best technology while carrying weapons they would never expect. "They think we're primitive because we still use physical weapons," Martinez said to her crew. "But that's our advantage. They've forgotten the power of simple things like bullets and bombs. They rely too much on energy weapons and fancy shields." The first ship powered up, its engines glowing with a blue light that shouldn't have been possible with Earth technology. But that was the beauty of Project Phoenix. It wasn't just Earth technology anymore. Martinez walked to the pilot briefing room, where 50 of Earth's best pilots waited. "For 20 years, we've prepared for this day," she began. "The Council thinks they know what humans are capable of. Today, we proved them wrong." She brought up a hologram of the Council's ships. "Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons and plasma attacks. But we're going to hit them with good old-fashioned missiles and railguns, powered by their own technology." They'd forgotten how to defend against physical weapons. In orbit, the Council ships continued their bombardment, never bothering to scan beneath the Earth's surface. They had declared victory too soon. "All ships report ready," her assistant announced. Martinez checked the final systems. Each ship carried a combination of nuclear warheads, railguns, and reverse-engineered alien weapons. The Council's own technology would help deliver humanity's revenge. "Send the signal to all bases," she ordered. "Operation Phoenix begins in 30 minutes." Around the world, similar facilities prepared for launch. The Council had struck first, but humanity would strike back. They would learn why humans had survived every disaster in their history. Because they never stopped fighting, never stopped adapting. "This is Commander Martinez to all Phoenix crews," she broadcast. "Remember your training. Remember what they did to our cities, our families. But most importantly, remember this: we're not just fighting for revenge. We're fighting to show the galaxy that humanity will never bow to tyranny." The mountain above them began to open, revealing the stars. In their ships high above, the Council celebrated their victory, unaware that Earth's fiercest defenders were about to rise from the ashes of their attack. "Launch in 5 minutes," Martins announced. "Let's show them what happens when you back humanity into a corner." The ships powered up, their engines combining human determination with alien power. The Council thought they had won. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. Major Tom Roberts sat in the cockpit of his stealth ship, leading the first wave of Earth's counterattack. Around him, 49 other ships moved silently through space, their hybrid engines barely leaving a trace. The Council's homeworld hung in space before them, a beautiful blue-green planet that had never faced an attack in 10,000 years. "All ships, radio silence from this point," Roberts whispered into his comm. "Remember your training. They won't see us coming." The fleet moved forward, using the stolen alien technology to hide from the Council's sensors. Each ship carried a mixture of weapons that would have made the aliens laugh, if they weren't about to learn how deadly primitive weapons could be. On the Council homeworld, the alien leaders celebrated. Huge screens showed Earth's burning cities, and the Council members congratulated each other on their successful containment of the human threat. "The primitive species has been properly subdued," the Council leader announced to the gathered crowd. "Their violent nature will no longer threaten galactic peace." That's when the first nuclear missile hit their capital city's shield. The Council's advanced energy barrier, designed to stop plasma weapons and energy beams, didn't recognize the simple nuclear weapon as a threat until it was too late. The explosion turned night into day. "All ships, weapons free," Roberts ordered. "Show them what humans can do." The Council's defense fleet scrambled to respond, but they had never faced an enemy like this. Their ships, armed with sophisticated energy weapons, found their shots passing harmlessly through the gaps in Earth's modified shields, spaces deliberately left open because humans knew energy weapons would target those areas. Roberts' ship dove through the chaos, launching old-fashioned missiles enhanced with alien technology. "Target their communication centers," he ordered. "Don't let them coordinate their defense." The Council's mighty capital burned. Their leaders, who had never imagined anyone would dare attack them, ran in panic as more missiles pierced their supposedly impenetrable defenses. "How is this possible?" the Council leader screamed as another explosion rocked their command center. "Their weapons are primitive. Their technology is centuries behind ours," a human voice answered over all their communication channels. "You forgot the most important lesson in warfare," Roberts broadcasted. "Never underestimate your enemy." The Earth fleet split into smaller groups, each targeting different critical facilities. The Council's ships, built for proper space warfare with rules and formations, couldn't handle Earth's guerrilla tactics. Human ships would appear from nowhere, fire their primitive weapons, and vanish before the aliens could respond. "Sir," Roberts' second-in-command reported, "Phase 1 targets are destroyed. The Council's main defense grid is down." Roberts nodded, watching the chaos below. The Council had thought humans were savages because they still used physical weapons. They never considered that humans had kept these weapons for a reason. They worked. "Launch Phase 2, he ordered. "Target their shipyards." The next wave of missiles streaked toward their targets, the Council's mighty shipyards, where they built their superior vessels, had no defense against simple kinetic weapons. Centuries of technological advancement had made them forget the basics of warfare. "This is impossible," a Council member screamed over the open channels. "We are the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. We cannot be defeated by primitives." Roberts smiled grimly as he launched another spread of missiles. "Being advanced doesn't mean much if you forget the fundamentals," he said to himself. And we humans never forgot. The battle lasted less than 2 hours. When it was over, the Council's capital lay in ruins, their shipyards destroyed, and their defense fleet scattered. The mighty civilization that had never known defeat had just been humbled by the very primitives they had tried to contain. "All ships, form up," Roberts ordered. "Return to Earth. Let them think about what just happened." As the Earth fleet disappeared into the darkness of space, They left behind a changed galaxy. The Council's homeworld, untouchable for 10,000 years, had been struck. Their perfect defenses had failed. Their superior technology had meant nothing. The message was clear. Humanity would not be contained. This was just the beginning. Council member Daniel Green sat quietly in the emergency meeting chamber, watching chaos unfold around him. As the only human-looking member of the Council, he had kept his true identity hidden for years. Now, he watched with hidden satisfaction as his fellow council members argued like frightened children. "How did they breach our defenses?" One council member shouted, his alien features twisted with fear. "Our shields were perfect. Our technology was superior. Their ships appeared from nowhere." Another screamed, "They used weapons we haven't seen in thousands of years." Green touched the small communicator hidden in his collar, secretly recording everything. After decades of living among the Council species, disguised as one of their own, he was finally seeing their perfect civilization crack. The Council leader slammed his fist on the table. "Silence. We must respond to this attack. We must show these primitives that they cannot challenge us." Green spoke up, keeping his voice calm. "Perhaps we should try to understand how they defeated our defenses first." He already knew the answer, of course. He had been feeding Earth's military information about the Council's weaknesses for years. "Understand?" The leader spat. "What is there to understand? They used primitive nuclear weapons, simple projectiles. We are beyond such basic attacks." "And yet," Green said softly, "those primitive weapons destroyed our capital." The chamber fell silent. On the main screen, images showed the devastation of their first defeat in 10,000 years. The Council's mighty shipyards lay in ruins. Their perfect defenses had failed. Their sophisticated weapons had proven useless against Earth's hybrid technology. In his private quarters later, Green sent an encrypted message to Earth. "Council in disarray. They cannot comprehend their defeat. Preparing to launch major counterattack in 3 days. Their ships are gathering near the Centauri sector." He smiled as he remembered the Council's arrogant decision to attack Earth. They had called it a preventive strike, to contain a dangerous species. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant. "We must strike back immediately." The Council's military commander burst into the chamber. "I have ordered our entire fleet to mobilize." Green watched as tactical displays showed thousands of Council ships moving into attack formation. They still didn't understand. They were fighting this war the same way they had fought every war for the past 10,000 years, with proper formations, proper protocols, and proper weapons. "The humans don't fight like we do," Green pointed out. "They use surprise attacks, hit and run tactics. They strike where we're weakest and disappear before we can respond." "Barbaric," someone shouted. "They have no honor, no proper military doctrine." Green had to hide his smile. The Council species had become so focused on their proper way of warfare that they had forgotten the most basic rule of survival: adapt or die. His communicator buzzed. Another message from Earth. "Operation Thunderbolt ready. Awaiting your signal." He looked at the Council's fleet movements on the display. They were arranging their ships exactly as their military doctrine demanded, and exactly as Earth's forces expected them to. "We should strengthen our energy shields," a Council scientist suggested. "Make them even more powerful against their primitive weapons." Green nodded in fake agreement, knowing that Earth's next attack wouldn't target their shields at all. The Council was so proud of their energy barriers that they had completely neglected their physical armor. They were about to learn a harsh lesson about the danger of relying too much on a single type of defense. As the meeting continued, Green sent one final message to Earth. "Council ships gathering exactly as predicted. They still think you'll fight by their rules. They're ready for an honorable battle. Give them chaos instead." The Council members continued their strategic planning, following their ancient military doctrines to the letter. None of them noticed Green's small smile as he watched their perfect plans come together, plans that would lead their ships exactly where Earth wanted them. The Council thought they were preparing for a proper space battle. They didn't realize they were walking into a trap, led there by their own rigid thinking and military traditions. Humanity was about to teach them that real warfare wasn't about honor or proper doctrine. It was about winning. Colonel Mary White stood on the bridge of her stealth carrier, watching as 500 Earth ships moved silently through space. Thanks to Council member Green's intelligence, they knew exactly where to strike. The Council's supply lines stretched across their territory like glowing threads on her tactical display. "All ships report ready, Colonel," her second-in-command reported. "Operation Thunderbolt can begin on your order." White nodded, remembering the weeks of planning that had led to this moment. The Council's mighty empire had a weakness. It depended entirely on its complex supply network. Without constant shipments of fuel and materials, their advanced technology would become useless. "Send the signal," she ordered. "All ships, execute Operation Thunderbolt." The Earth fleet split into 20 groups, each targeting a different supply route. The Council, still gathering its forces for what they thought would be a major battle, had left these vital supply lines barely defended. "First target in range," a tactical officer announced. "They still haven't detected us." White smiled grimly. "Launch the EMP torpedoes." The new weapons, developed by combining human ingenuity with stolen alien tech, shot toward their targets. The Council's supply ships, their shields designed to stop energy weapons, never saw the electromagnetic pulse coming. "Direct hits across all targets," the tactical officer reported with excitement. "Their systems are shutting down." The Council's supply ships, their advanced technology rendered useless by the primitive electromagnetic pulses, drifted helplessly in space. Their crews, used to relying on sophisticated computers and AI systems, had no idea how to operate their ships manually. White opened a channel to all Earth ships. Phase 2. Begin kinetic strikes. Railguns, another primitive weapon the Council had abandoned millennia ago, opened fire. Simple metal slugs, accelerated to incredible speeds, tore through the unpowered shields of the supply ships. The Council's mighty supply network began to crumble. "Colonel," her communications officer called out, "we're picking up chaos on Council channels. Their fleet is trying to respond, but they're scattered across too many sectors." That was the beauty of Operation Thunderbolt. While the Council gathered its forces for a traditional space battle, Earth had struck at their lifeline instead. Green's intelligence had been perfect. The Council never expected an attack on their supply lines. In their arrogance, they thought humans would fight properly. "Ma'am, look at this," her tactical officer said, pointing to his screen. "The Council ships are running out of fuel. Their advanced engines use too much power. They can't function without constant resupply." White watched as confusion spread through the Council's forces. Their mighty warships, each one a technological marvel, were becoming stranded as their fuel supplies ran dry. Their complex AI systems, starved of power, began to fail. "Send word to Admiral Wilson," she ordered. "Operation Thunderbolt is succeeding beyond expectations. The Council's supply network is collapsing." Reports flooded in from all sectors. Council ships, desperate for fuel and supplies, were abandoning their positions. Their perfect formation was breaking apart as ships either retreated to safe harbors or found themselves stranded in space. "Colonel," her second-in-command said quietly, "we just intercepted a message from the Council's high command. They're calling this an impossible defeat. They say no civilized species would attack supply lines instead of engaging in proper combat." White shook her head. The Council still didn't understand. Humanity hadn't survived countless disasters by fighting properly. They had survived by doing whatever was necessary to win. "Launch Phase 3, she ordered. "Target their fuel refineries and manufacturing centers. Let's make sure they can't recover quickly from this." As Earth's ships struck target after target, the Council's mighty empire began to crack. Their sophisticated technology, deprived of the constant supply of resources it needed, was becoming their greatest weakness. Message from Earth Command, her communications officer announced. Admiral Wilson says, the Council's intelligence service reports multiple member species are calling for an emergency session. They're starting to question the wisdom of attacking Earth. White smiled. Operation Thunderbolt wasn't just destroying the Council's supply lines. It was breaking their confidence, their unity, and their sense of invincibility. The turning point of the war had arrived, and humanity was winning. Ambassador John Smith walked calmly through the grand halls of the Council's emergency meeting chamber. As Earth's first official diplomat to address the Council, he knew every eye was on him. The massive room, usually a symbol of the Council's unity and power, now buzzed with fear and whispered arguments. The traitors wished to speak, announced one of the alien leaders, his voice shaking. The traitors were the Council's richest species, controlling most of the galaxy's commerce. Smith watched as the trade leader stepped forward. After Operation Thunderbolt's success, many Council species were having second thoughts about fighting Earth. The traitors, always focused on profit, were the first to see which way the wind was blowing. This war is destroying our trade networks, the trade leader declared. The humans don't attack our warships, they attack our supply lines, our fuel stations, our cargo ships. We cannot do business in a galaxy where trade routes are not safe. Murmurs of agreement spread through the chamber. The Council's military response to Earth's attacks had failed completely. Their mighty warships sat useless in space, out of fuel and supplies. We should have studied them more carefully, another Council member said. They turned our own technology against us. They found weaknesses we didn't even know we had. Smith stepped forward to speak. The chamber fell silent. The Council thought humans were primitive because we still used physical weapons, he said clearly. You forgot that we kept those weapons because they work. You evolved past the basics of warfare. We evolved to master them all. The trade leader nodded. The traitors formally announced their withdrawal from this conflict. Furthermore, we wish to open diplomatic relations with Earth. Chaos erupted in the chamber. The Council leader jumped to his feet. This is treason. We cannot show weakness to these primitives. Primitive. Smith's voice cut through the noise. We destroyed your capital. We crippled your supply lines. We did it all with technology you thought was obsolete, combined with the advanced systems we reverse-engineered from your crashed ships. Who's primitive now? More species began to break away. The mining guilds, seeing the traitors' decision, quickly followed. They had lost too many automated mining stations to Earth's EMP weapons. The transport clans came next. Their ships were stranded all over Council space, unable to reach working fuel stations. Council member Green, still maintaining his cover, watched with satisfaction as the mighty alliance began to crumble. His years of spying had helped Earth understand exactly how to break the Council apart. Earth is willing to negotiate, Smith announced to the increasingly divided chamber. We don't want to destroy the Council. We just want you to understand that humanity will not be dismissed, contained, or controlled. The Council leader looked around desperately as more and more species announced their withdrawal from the war. The mighty alliance that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years was falling apart in front of him. Perhaps, he said finally, his voice heavy with defeat, we should consider opening formal peace talks. Smith smiled diplomatically, but his eyes were hard. Earth will accept peace talks on one condition. The Council must acknowledge that humanity is not primitive, not dangerous, but equal. We've proved we can defeat you. Now prove you're wise enough to make us allies instead of enemies. As Smith left the chamber, he received a message from Admiral Wilson. The Council's fleet is in chaos. Half their ships are deserting, returning to their home systems. How are the diplomatic efforts going? The Council is splintering, Smith replied. They're starting to realize that fighting Earth was the worst mistake they've made in 10,000 years. The traitors have already switched sides, and others are following. In the chamber behind him, more and more species were abandoning the Council's war effort. They had all seen the footage from Operation Thunderbolt. They had all watched Earth's primitive weapons tear apart their advanced civilization. The Council had started this war thinking they were containing a primitive violent species. Instead, they had shattered their own power. The galaxy would never be the same. Admiral James Wilson stood in the center of the Council's grand chamber, the same room where they had once planned Earth's containment. Now, 3 months after Operation Thunderbolt, he faced a very different council. The mighty alliance that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years had been humbled by the very primitives they had tried to destroy. The Council recognizes Earth as a full and equal member of the galactic community, the Council leader announced, his voice carrying none of its former arrogance. Furthermore, we acknowledge our grave error in attempting to contain humanity. Wilson looked around the chamber. Many seats stood empty. Former Council species who had completely withdrawn from the Alliance. The traitors now worked directly with Earth, fascinated by humanity's hybrid technology. The mining guilds had signed separate treaties, eager to learn how humans had improved their primitive mining techniques. Earth accepts your acknowledgement, Wilson said clearly. But acceptance isn't enough. The galaxy needs to change. The old order, where one group decides who is civilized enough to join them, is over. Council member Green, finally revealing himself as a human agent, stepped forward. I have lived among you for years, he announced to the shocked chamber. I have seen your strength and your wisdom, but I have also seen your greatest weakness, your belief that advanced technology means advanced thinking. The council members muttered among themselves. The revelation that a human had sat among them, hidden for years, was the final proof of their failure to understand humanity's capabilities. Earth proposes a new structure for galactic governance, Wilson continued. No more council deciding the fate of primitive species. No more judgments based on technology alone. Every spacefaring race deserves a voice. He activated a holographic display, showing the new organization chart. The Galactic Assembly, he explained, where every species has equal representation, where technology and tradition can work together, where being different doesn't mean being primitive. The council leaders studied the display. His species had ruled the galaxy through the council for millennia. But Earth's victory had proved the old ways didn't work anymore. Your hybrid technology, one council scientist asked. The way you combined our advanced systems with your primitive weapons, will you share this knowledge? Wilson smiled. That's the point of the assembly. Every species brings their strengths. Humans aren't superior. We're just different. We kept our old weapons while learning new ones. We valued both past and future. That's what made us strong. Commander Martinez, who had led Project Phoenix, stepped forward. Earth is willing to teach what we've learned, but you must also teach us. Together, we can be stronger than ever. The chamber erupted in discussion. The remaining council species, seeing the success of those who had already allied with Earth, began to understand. The galaxy was entering a new age. The council accepts Earth's proposal, the leader announced finally. The Galactic Assembly will replace the Council. All species, whether they use energy weapons or projectiles, AI or manual controls, will have an equal voice. Wilson nodded, remembering the morning when alien ships had appeared over Boston. The Council had thought they were containing a primitive violent species. Instead, they had forced humanity to show its true strength, not just in weapons or technology, but in adaptability, creativity, and determination. Let this be remembered, Wilson declared to the chamber, not as the day Earth defeated the Council, but as the day the galaxy learned a better way. Advanced technology doesn't make a civilization great. Understanding, adaptation, and respect do. As he looked around the chamber, Wilson saw hope replacing fear in alien eyes. The Council's attack on Earth had changed everything, but not in the way they had intended. Instead of containing humanity, they had freed the galaxy from 10,000 years of stagnation. The war is over, Wilson announced. The real work begins now. Earth stands ready to help build this new future, not as primitives, not as conquerors, but as equals. Together, we will create something greater than the Council ever imagined. And so, the galaxy entered a new era. The Council that had ruled for 10,000 years became a memory. In its place rose the Galactic Assembly, where every species, from the most technologically advanced to those who still valued primitive ways, had a voice in shaping the future.